Bonaducci, and you are watching Gov's Radio. This is where you go if you want to see something or if you want to hear something funny. Coming up in just a couple minutes. This is a joke I told. What? I'm not on Gov Radio? Call the police. Call my agent. Hi.
Tony, welcome to Go.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
I gotta pat you down though, pal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Got anything on you? Anything I should know?
I got nothing.
Anything weird going on?
What?
Alright, you go in, Tony.
Good. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tom Kelly of The Tom Kelly Show. Yes, this is not the only time I've gotten on my knees in the back room of a comedy club.
The Knockem Dead Comedy Radio Show is also brought to you by Two Eagles Auto Body. For more than 25 years, Two Eagles Auto Body has been the leader in auto body repairs and customer satisfaction on Long Island. Two Eagles Auto Body handles every type of auto repair, from custom applications and restorations to repairs involving insurance claims. Give Two Eagles Auto Body a call and please ask for John Rossi at 516-328-2527. That's 516-328-2527.
Hey, how do you say there, people? It's Johnny Brennan, creator of the Jerky Boys, also of Fox TV's Family Guy fame. I just want to let you know you're listening to Tony on the Knockem Dead Radio Show. They're gonna keep knocking them dead, so keep listening, you wacky sons of bitch. Right there. Over and out there, sweet Charlie.
Long time no see, man. Hey, man, I miss you guys, man, at Knockem Dead Comedy Radio.
Hey, Tony, you're not funny, and you probably shit yourself a lot, and you're no fun to be with, and you don't make that much money, and you're not going anywhere in show business, and I hope you get hit by a bus.
Let's give a big shout out to Tony Walker.
Tony Walker, who's a friend of mine.
Tony Walker!
Tony Walker!
Tony Walker, everybody. Stand up, Tony. Where are you? Tony Walker! Thank you so much, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Walker. Our favorite. We love you.
I've met a lot of different people. This one right here used to headline Chuckles and Eastside and all these clubs. If you remember Claudia Sherman, Google her, she used to come out with a wedding dress and talk about how her wedding went all awry and this and that. She is here, when a comedian comes to see another comedian, that is the biggest honor a comedian can get. And I'm honored that you're here tonight. I love Claudia. Claudia Sherman, back in the day, was a great stand-up comic. We used to do all the clubs around the tri-state area.
Yeah.
Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, all the clubs. Governors in Levittown. It's going to be a phenomenal night at Governors in Levittown.
Hi, I'm Claudia. I'm with the Down Now.
It's called the Down and Out, and she's doing a show in the Giggle Room. When are you doing that? October 5th. Governors in Levittown. Go to govs.com for your tickets.
With the Down Now.
A lot of great comedians, a lot of laughter, good food. Governors in Levittown, get your tickets now. Govs.com.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, the 19th. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Knockem Dead Comedy Show here on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast, the Facebook page, the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Facebook, please follow the page and have a good time. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up and all that good stuff. No matter where you're watching it from, just be sure to share the link and tell everybody you know about all the great shows here on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. If you'd like to comment and take part in our conversation today, we ask that you please do that on YouTube because that is where we monitor the comments. The Knockem Dead Comedy Show, we're coming at you live from the legendary Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown. And speaking of legends, Frank and Dan are here, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Well,
Frank's the legend. Yeah, I know.
Did you just say I know?
I said no.
Oh, that's right. I know.
No.
Yeah, Frank, Long Island music legend. Soak it up. This is the only time I'm ever saying that to you.
Why, yes, I am.
And Dan is here. He's got his books with him. When was it? About a month ago you were here?
Beginning of August.
Was it? Wow, it's been that long?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, time goes by.
It really does, man. I'm always shocked at how fast it all goes. All right, but you were here last time promoting Madcap Serenade. Yep. You read a little bit from it, which I loved. You're going to do some more of that today, and you've been working. You've been all over the place. You've been promoting. You've been selling your works. How's it going? It's a lot of work. People don't realize
it is. It is a lot of work, but it's really been a lot of fun because the first two books I wrote came out during COVID.
Right.
And so I wasn't able to do all of these things and meet readers and promote things in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great. But it's a lot of work. It was probably for every bookstore that said yes, I could do a signing or a reading or a discussion. There was probably 10 or 15 that said no.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And sadly, after COVID, a lot of those independent bookstores went away.
Right.
So there's also less choice, more competitive.
Yeah. We felt that here on the island. The Book Review in Huntington, which was a very popular place, unfortunately had to close its doors. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's been great. I've had a big turnouts everywhere I've been. I've been selling lots of books and meeting lots of readers and meeting lots of interesting people, a lot of strangers. I think we were talking before the show. People are endlessly fascinating, especially people that are readers but maybe don't understand how books are made, how they're written,
or that books even exist. Maybe,
and it's funny. There's always one standout weirdo at every bookstore. So if you're listening, it's not about you, but there's always one interesting person or a couple at every store that I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a story one day.
Yeah, right.
I had one person, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you last time I was here. She asked me what my book was about, which is it's a rom-com, right? It takes place in 1979 in Hicksville in Italy. And so I'm explaining this to her very briefly, and she looks at me very sincerely and says, "Are there dragons in the book?" And I'm like, all I could think was, if there were dragons first of all, kudos to me to come up with a rom-com with dragons.
In Hicksville.
Right, in Hicksville in 1979. But if there were dragons, do you think that would not be on the cover? Do you think I would not lead with that when someone asks what it's about? It's like, get this, it's about freaking dragons. And it's a rom-com. Like, I'm hiding that. That's, I don't want to spoil it for you. There's dragons. So I said...
So you're alienating the dragon, the romance dragon lovers right now. They're all switching off.
Millions of them. Yes. Huge demographic. So I said, no, there are no dragons in this book. And then she looked at me also just as sincerely, and so she said, could there be any? And I said, do you mean in this book that I have now that you're holding in your hand? And she said, yeah. I said, I don't think you understand how anything works. Are you asking me to call my publisher and stop the presses?
Right.
And pull every book off the shelves?
Rewrite it.
And have everybody return their books so I could add a dragon element and resell it to everyone? She was like, is that possible? I'm like, no, I don't think that's possible. And you should have a guardian. So,
and then you found out she's a multimillionaire who was going to get a screenplay made of the book.
Right.
Just change it to dragons.
That's right. It was the producer of Game of Thrones, and I screwed up my chances big time.
Jane turns into a dragon. But she's lovely.
I mean, the only rom-com with a dragon is Shrek.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So,
that's really funny.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of weirdos, I do have to apologize. Yesterday, you were a part of Coffee with the Dog.
Tuesday.
Oh, it wasn't yesterday?
No, it was Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
I watched it yesterday thinking I was watching it live.
Yeah.
That's how much of an idiot I am.
I don't think you understand how anything works.
I'm sitting there waiting for the dragon. All right. Well, yesterday, Tuesday, whatever it was, you go on that show.
Yes.
First, you're not even out there yet, and they're making fun of your name, which so I'm watching. I'm like, I'm literally like this.
Yeah.
And then even after you came, then all right, see, here's a little secret. So he was calling before he brought you on. He's calling you Kopcow.
Yes.
Which I'm going to go back even further. When he first started promoting the show, when he had the, he set up like all the YouTube stuff. It actually said, I don't know if you saw this because we didn't talk about this yet. It actually said he changed it because it originally said Dan Kopcow.
Kopcow?
Yeah, C-O-P, K-O-P-C-O-P. That's originally what it said. Kopcow. And I was like, oh shit, I got to reach out to that.
That's my name when I'm a Japanese anime.
Yeah, right.
And back to the dragon.
Yeah.
So, and then, good morning, Paula. Good to see you. And then, but then, as he's getting ready to introduce you, he's calling you Kopcow. So now I'm like a crazed sports fan yelling at the TV, Kopcow, Kopcow, Kopcow. So then he finally brings you on. And he says to you, which is it? Is it Kopcow or Kopcow? And you said it's Kopcow. And then he continued, Dan Kopcow. Glad we got that figured out. But the secret is Matt Nappo, and I'll tell you a story. So Matt Nappo's been doing his show probably like 2 or 3 years here. But he does it remotely from his own studio. So, but I know he plays guitar. I know he's done some acting. He gets around.
Yeah.
But I never physically met him in person.
Oh.
And then it was about a year ago. I was doing one of my murder mystery shows, and one of the performers had to back out about a week or two in advance before the show. And I was scrambling looking for somebody, and it's a mob show. This particular show is a mob show. I'm like, and I was talking to Matt, and I was like, oh, he kind of fits the role of a mobster. So I asked him if he wanted to do it. And he said yes. So we're at this show. We're backstage. So this is the first time I'm meeting him in person. So because we went over the script just over email and stuff. So I knew he'd be fine. But we're backstage, and I see him as the whole cast is talking. I see him kind of leaning in, doing like this. I'm looking, and we get to talking. Sure enough, he tells me that he's legally deaf.
Wow.
So I'm like, what the fuck? I turned to one of the actors. I'm like, how are we going to talk? How's this guy going to know what's going on out there? And then from that point on, every time I looked at him, he's going like this. I'm like, this is going to be a comedy show in itself. we did the show and he was fine. He was actually very good. We had a great time and he saved our asses. But then yesterday when you're telling him Kopcow and he's still repeating Kopcow, I'm yelling, you deaf bastard! He's saying Kopcow!
I did tell him offline that his last name Napo sounds like the laziest Marx brother.
Great.
Very good. What did he say to that?
He said yes, and he looks like Groucho right before he died.
That's kind of true. So they mess with your name. Then and then I felt so bad for you. You're trying to promote your book, and you're being as professional as anybody can be. As they made fun of the Pope, talked about racism and the N-word. They talked about they talked about teenagers having sex. GD and Steven are fighting with each other.
They're talking about condoms a lot?
Yes. They were asking if a condom came with your book. I'm like, what the? And then poor Ron Kane, the whole time, he's just, I don't think he said a word.
Is he deaf also?
Maybe. Okay. I actually said to myself, he's like, Frank never says a word in here. So Ron.
Legends don't have to speak.
They just have to be here. But the difference is though Ron Kane looked confused. If you go back and watch, he's like this the whole time. I'm messing with the guys. I love that show. I love those guys. But
it was a great interview and it was a lot of fun. I was very nervous at first, not for doing the interview, but watching the first 15-20 minute rant on anti-racism, which I was glad it landed on the side of anti-racism because I wasn't sure where it was going to land.
Yeah, sure.
When he first started, and I was like, that is a really hard pivot to my PG, very wholesome rom-com.
Right. And that's the thing with Matt. He's not afraid to say anything he wants to say.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing. What's happening here? Where are they going with this? And then even in the beginning, because I guess they were still transitioning off all that, GD then even said something about, he made some kind of joke. What did he say? Long Island is like the perfect, or New York is the perfect place for racism jokes or something. Then he started doing the Al Jolson stuff.
He said musicals are famous for being racist.
That's what it was. Right.
And that kind of took me a little bit.
Right. So I was getting nervous there too, thinking, are they trying to tie in racism with the poor guy's book? Like, what is happening here?
If I made a list of ways not to promote Madcap Serenade, like they clicked every box,
I thought, some people want to change your book with the dragons. Some people, your worst date ever with, minorities. Like that would be the new title or something. I didn't know what was happening.
But all of that will be incorporated in the second edition. So.
The dragons eat minorities. Right, there you go. And then those guys will buy the book.
And it's a rom-com book. Can you believe that? Sorry.
That's great.
Private joke there.
Yeah. But all right, now going to the other side of that, on the book tours, did you meet people that really seemed to know about your books, or you that really had good questions? I hope.
Yeah. So when I've done the Q&A after my readings, both strangers and friends who were there were asking a lot of really good questions about, writing process and how long did it take, how'd you find a publisher, how long you've been writing, like all of those really good questions. But, I also get some weird ones like, well, did this all come to you in a dream? I'm like, I woke up and wrote 300 pages. Yeah. It was amazing.
Really fast.
It took one day. That's it.
Yeah. So, and honestly, there are writers that, keep a pad by their nightstand and they will dream about something and it will actually turn into something useful.
Yeah. Songwriters too, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Songwriters too. Well, I would think with music, it seems like the way the brain works that it might be a little more natural.
Musically, especially, you have to have a tape recorder ready.
Right.
So, especially if it's a melody, you gotta get it down real quick before you forget it.
Right.
Yeah, I know a lot of comedians will do that too. They'll just record. They'll just say quick.
Right.
guy fell down, or whatever the joke is.
Yeah, I'll do that too. Like if I think I had a really interesting dream that solves some problem in a plot I'm working on, or some interesting notion for a future project, I will take out my phone and record it. 100% of the time in the morning, it's like, the whale has a red balloon. I have no idea what this means.
Yes.
I can't do anything with this.
Yep.
Maybe Pixar could, but I can't.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have I have plenty of notes on my phone for possible joke ideas. No idea.
Yeah.
Or sometimes if I'm working on a murder mystery for the comedy troupe, I'll actually do a few pages. I don't know about you, but sometimes once I get hooked on an idea, it just starts to flow. But then I'll go back to it, and this is my process. Not that anybody asked, but I'll go back to it like 2 days later. I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? And I just dumped the whole thing.
Really?
Oh yeah.
There's nothing you can salvage.
No. Yeah, maybe there might be like one punch on. Like, all right, I like that, so I'm just going to save this. I don't know where I'm going to use it. I don't even know if it'll be for this one, but I'm going to hold on to it, in hopes. But I don't remember if it was Napa or something else, but I even saw you said sometimes it takes you up to 2 years to write a novel.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time job, so that's part of why.
Okay.
I think if I was just focusing on just writing a novel, it probably would take, 6-7 months or so. But it depends. Madcap Serenade's really intricately plotted.
Okay.
And it's alternating chapters of the two narrators.
Right.
And you read a chapter, and then the following chapter kind of bounces off the first. It mirrors it. There's some characters that bounce between the two heroes' worlds, Eli and Jane.
Right.
And that's fun for the reader because you're like, oh, this person, I just found out about this. Main character doesn't know this. Mm-hmm. This person is lying to them because they were just talking to this other character in the previous chapter. And there's a lot of twists and turns that way. And it's really fun for the reader. But that's a lot of work because you have to be consistent, and it's got to be, you got to have things driving the plot. It can't just feel like it's all based on coincidence.
Sure.
And so working out the plot, and why is this person doing this? And I need this person to get from here to here.
Right.
How do I do that in a plausible way? And they're like, I've already written myself into a corner. There's like 27 interesting ways. I can't do any of those because I already set up the plot some other way. So I got to figure out a new way. So,
and you didn't even introduce the dragon yet.
That's right. And then right around the corner are all the anti-racist minorities, and there's all of that.
So it must be, for lack of a better word, it must be painful at times trying to get it going. I'm sure you probably, I think any writer has bits where they're like, and they took it out, like, this isn't working, but painful's probably not the right word, though, right?
I don't know if it's painful. I know there are absolutely times when I'm writing when I know I'm not going to be using 90% of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like but I have to write this chapter. I have to, because if I go through and explore this, I will come up with other ideas.
Oh, okay.
Or
that's interesting.
Or like I didn't realize this person probably is feeling this way about this thing, and I didn't think they were going to be.
Okay.
And so I'll throw out the actual writing, but like the idea and the notion of what happens, it's like, right, I have to come up with a way more interesting plot, character, situation, but like some idea. It's like the punchline that you come up with.
Right.
Like you throw everything out, and then you'll kind of build another scene around that
Right.
punchline.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like going to a thrift store and buying a coat and saying, well, this is an interesting button. And you throw out the coat. And you're like, I'm going to make another coat, but I'll use this button as an idea.
That's wild. I never heard of that, where people are, writing something and consciously knowing they're not going to use most of it. That's really fascinating to me.
Yeah, and in that way, it's painful because you're like, I'm just wasting my time here.
Yeah, but you're not.
But you're not.
Yeah,
you're always coming up with something that's usable. I know when I wrote Prior Futures, which is a science fiction detective story, also really intricately plotted, I went through 6 drafts of it.
Wow.
The first draft, I just got down the plot and the basic ideas and the world building, because it's a whole different world.
Right.
It's Earth, but it's an Earth that no one recognizes. And then in the second draft, I said, this just isn't that interesting. I said, I need to make it like first person.
Okay.
And that didn't work. And then because first person changed a whole bunch of things, and I got to change it back to third person.
Yeah.
And it was told from the secretary's point of view, like his secretary. Then it was back to the main character, and everything just had a big impact on the plot until I came up with a way to tell it that made sense. But as I was going through all that, I'm like, I don't think this is working, but I'm halfway through the novel, so let me finish this up and see if this draft makes any sense to me. I'm happy with it. So yeah, it's hard.
Do you ever bounce any of it off your wife or another author or anybody? Or
sometimes if there's something that I'm thinking might be a stretch for a character, particularly a woman character.
Okay.
It's like, is this the way a woman would react in this situation? This is what I need her to do. I need her to be, at this point, and I need her to get to that point, whether plot-wise or emotionally or whatever it is. It's like, I think this makes sense, and I'll run that past my wife or someone else and say, is this plausible? Or if there's some other plot point that I think is just stretching things too much.
Right.
But yeah, mostly I'm not ready to share things with like beta readers, like until it's completely done.
Right.
And then I've got a few trusted people that I share it with, and really, respect their opinions, including my wife. Yeah.
That was very polite. Beta readers. I don't want to share it with you morons that don't know what you're doing. That's basically what you're saying. People who don't know anything about writing, you common folk.
Yes, or beta readers.
John Rusiello, who's watching from Florida, your book is great. Could not put it down.
Wow.
Nice.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Very
you, John.
nice.
That's because of the crazy glue.
Or maybe he borrowed a copy from GD and there was a condom in it. Well, that's very nice, John.
Thank
John,
you very much.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't
nice.
know that you picked one up, John. That's great.
Wow.
Because that's why I asked if you ever throw ideas out like to your wife or anything. Because I've done that too, where I work with Bobby, where I write for a cartoon, and my friend Bobby, it's an environmental cartoon. You're an environmental engineer.
Yeah.
It's an environmental cartoon about saving the planet from all the ways of damaging planets. So he writes the plots, but he brings me in, like the script is almost done, but he'll have me come in to add punchlines and make it fun. And I find it interesting to do it that way, because then same thing. You're writing even though you know it's not going to stick. I do the same thing. I'll say whatever comes to my head, even if it's the stupidest thing, because you don't know where it's going to lead, where it's going to take you, and then we start bouncing off each other, and then we finally get to that point. We're like, oh, that's it, you know. So and I value that.
Absolutely, There are a lot of authors. What the term that a lot of authors use for their first draft is a vomit draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
You're just writing from your heart, and you're just like, blah, 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 blah,
right.
And you just get it all out.
It's a great sound effect.
Thank you. Maybe I should be doing cartoons. And it may not have structure. It may be all over the place. You may, the whole middle section may not even include the main character. Whatever it is, but you just get it out, and then you just start whittling away and say, all right, this whole side quest thing needs to go, and this whole, and then you just start, and that's sort of how I started with Madcap Serenade. Usually I start with an outline, where I'm not writing a whole vomit draft.
Right.
I outline very carefully. But with Madcap, my first draft was kind of a vomit draft, where I let the two characters go off and do whatever they wanted to do, whatever felt natural to them, and say what they ever wanted to do, and create all these relationships. And I probably ended up using 20-30% of that. But the rest was like, this isn't a novel. This is just, one little story after another. And it's like, it sounded like something a second grader would. And then this happened. And then this happened.
Right.
But there was 20-30% of it that was useful. And I was like, all right, now let me pare this down and then structure this so it reads like, an actual novel.
Is it like a movie, though, where there has to be subplots and things like that to keep it going, or no?
Yeah, generally, yeah. I mean, it's
because I would think that's a pain too, to now to come up with a subplot. It's hard to keep all that together.
So, that hasn't really been a challenge, because I kind of write from very big picture, and then I get down into the details, and so I know what the story's about, and so with the subplots, it has to be related somehow to the main plot. Right. So with a rom-com, it's like, all right, there's got to be two minor characters that are kind of like the reflective of the main characters.
Right. Right.
And what's their interesting story? It's like they're even wilder than the main characters, or they're way more conservative, or they're the opposite, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is structured like a screenplay, and it has those same types of elements.
Sure.
Different
Okay.
acts and all that. Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears for a second because John just commented again. He said the last time you were on, he went on Amazon and purchased it. So I wasn't planning on doing this, but he kind of sparked my thoughts here. DanKopcow.com.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy who's independent, working with independent publishers, do you see less money from Amazon if they go through something like Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they should go directly through you, right?
If they are, if a reader is considerate enough to factor that into their decision, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Then, well, and not through me. I'm not the one selling it directly necessarily, but if they go through my publisher,
okay,
which in the case of Madcap Serenade is Black Rose Writing. If you go to my website, all my books are there, and there's links that take you directly to there. But yeah, from a royalty perspective, I make the most money per book sold if it's sold directly from my publisher, and probably the least amount through Amazon. But that's probably everybody's story with Amazon.
Yeah, that's why I asked. So, and John, we're not yelling at you, although we'll find a reason to. But we're not yelling at you. But if anybody else, wants to buy Dan's book, go to DanKopcow.com. I'm gonna just take a screenshot and show you the website.
Yeah, but in the meantime, thanks, John, for buying it from Amazon and making me poor. Now I'm down to buying discount beans. So thank you.
He had to walk here from
Ithaca.
From Ithaca, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to have a sale anywhere. So
good answer.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad that he's enjoying the book.
All right, so there it is. It's on a delay, so you can't see yet, but they're seeing it at DanKopcow.com, and there's the picture and the welcoming and all that stuff. So you'll know you're on the right page if you see that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I've seen the book has been getting nice reviews, and it seems to be going well, right?
Yeah. It's I had an interesting experience 2 weeks ago. I was at the Barnes & Noble in Carl Place.
Oh, okay.
Doing a signing, and then they didn't have me do a reading, but they had me do a Q&A with they set up like 20 chairs, and every hour on the hour for a couple hours they would just make an announcement. People would sit down. I would do a Q&A with folks.
Nice.
And there was a woman, I think in her 20s, who was in the first session. She asked a couple of good questions. She bought all 3 of my books, which was lovely. I signed all 3.
Yeah.
Then she ended up going on TikTok and making a video. And it's gotten 1.5 million views.
Wow.
And I wasn't on TikTok. And now I am.
Yeah.
And there's like tons of people. Now, how many are actually buying the book? There's a lot on there saying that they have purchased the book, that they've enjoyed it. We'll see when my, sales
when the check comes in.
Yeah, when the check comes in. But that was very unexpected.
Wow.
Somebody reached out to me on Instagram and said, you're kind of blowing up you're popping off on TikTok.
Yep.
As the kids say.
Yeah.
I was like, really? So, yeah, that was a weird fluke.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Rusiello, sir. Thanks for holding.
No problem. You, Mr. Walker, the host that you are,
you
should have put up all the information so people like me would know not to buy from Amazon. The first time the gentleman was on your show, you screwed up, and you're going to yell at me. You're getting like Kaplan. Okay,
I'm going to differ. I'm pretty certain I mentioned DanKopcow.com the last time he was here. So if you want to fight, we'll fight, you son of a bitch.
let me tell you something, okay? Come down here, and I'll beat the shit out of you. All right?
That's a sight. A 70-year-old with leukemia and a one-legged fat guy. That's a sight.
Hey, can you guys talk about racism?
What? I'm sorry. What'd you say? I wasn't paying attention to you.
I'm not going to hit you. I'm just going to blow a fart.
Oh, that would make me laugh. That's fine. I'll fart back at you.
Dan, I'm going to purchase all of your books now.
Aw,
because you tantalized me with your book, and now you're talking about a detective story, even though it's fiction, I would love to read it. So I am going to purchase your books.
DanKopcow.com.
.com. I got it. I'm writing it down. Unlike you didn't put it up. You put you put all the other things up. You should have put his information. You just put his information up. I see.
There you go. Yeah, you're welcome.
You see, Dan, you see how I get picked on? Do you see? Stick up for me, Dan. Come on. All right. Stop looking pretty.
Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird, John.
Too late.
All right, I'm getting off the phone. Goodbye.
At least he didn't say I had a pretty mouth.
Oh my god.
That's
well, to intercede into this growing feud here. I'm just glad that I was able to come on, and he bought a book anyway. So ultimately,
that's it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, that was.
So we have requests. You're living in Ithaca. So are you doing anything in the Rochester area?
I am not, but if somebody knows of an independent bookstore and 20 or 30 people who are willing to come out, I'm there.
What else do they have to do in Rochester?
That's true.
All right, so Vicky, who lives in Rochester, Hicksville class of 86, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, so Vicky, go to your bookstore and tell them to bring in Dan Kopcow and then bring 19 of your friends.
Or if there's a book club there, I'll go to a book club.
Oh, okay.
I've done that before, too.
Oh, is that right? Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yep. There's people, dozen people, and once a month they get together, they read a book, and they talk about it, and
drink wine.
And then I'll come in and drink wine, and
there you go.
And then leave, unless they ask me good questions.
Unless the women tell you have a pretty mouth.
My wife has something to say about that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And then Fremder, I think I warned you last time about Andrew Fremder. He's the one with the bad jokes. On Amazon, I ordered a herd of elephants. The last time I went on Amazon, I ordered a chicken and an egg. I'll let you know which came first. All right, thanks. So, and are you? But is Ithaca far from Rochester? I don't even
it's
know.
like 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look that far, but it's like little country roads, so it's like 2 hours to get there.
Because you have been hitting some places up,
yeah,
like by home and stuff.
Yeah, by Ithaca, Syracuse, bunch of bookstores up there. Yeah,
they have more than one bookstore in Syracuse.
They do. They've got two now. No.
Really? Well, that's good for you because they have nothing else to do. So they'll buy some books.
I know people in Syracuse, so I'm going to stay quiet on this one.
I know a couple in Syracuse, and every time I yell at them about Syracuse, they actually agree with me. That town sucks, man. There was just I've been there once, and I absolutely hated it and couldn't wait to get out of there. So, and I did. I went. I stayed. I think for maybe 4 hours, and then drove right back home. Yeah, I hated it. Sorry, Syracuse. All right. So, all right. Yeah. So we talked about this quickly before we went on the air, but I wanted to actually just thank you publicly because we scheduled this to tie in with an appearance that you were making tonight here on Long Island.
Right.
That has been in the process of being rescheduled. So I wanted to thank you for still coming down here. Yeah. When just for this. I mean, who does that? I don't even do that. But yeah. So Theodore's in Oyster Bay, probably going to be in November, right?
It is. And thank you for helping to plug that.
Sure.
Yeah, it hasn't been scheduled yet. It'll be sometime. It sounds like November 12th, which is a Tuesday, but we're still waiting for more people to commit to let me know, yes, I will absolutely be there. And if there's enough people, then we'll proceed.
So it would, I don't know if this is a tough question or not, but regardless of the day, it would be like 7 o'clock-ish? Or?
Yes, it'll be at 7.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because people are getting home from work and having dinner, and then so it'll be probably 7 to 8:30, something like that.
7 to 8:30. Okay.
And it'll be free, and there'll be mini cannolis. And if we have it, one lucky person will win a free copy of Madcap Serenade.
And what qualifies them? Like, how does one person win? Do they have to answer a trivia question or something?
They have to fog a mirror. They just have to be alive.
But what do? Do you do eeny, meeny, miny, mo? Do people raise their hands? Like, how do they?
I haven't thought it through that.
Oh! So this is a brand new promotional.
Well, I know somebody's going to win one just by attending. How we're going to select that person, I don't know yet.
Oh, so you haven't been doing that though at the other appearances?
No, I have not.
Oh, so that's what I'm saying. So this is a new thing.
I see. Yes, this is a new thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes.
That's a great idea. I like it. People are always good for giveaways.
Yeah, good.
Even if it's a lollipop, more people will show up. So you get a lollipop and a book.
I do have to tell you another story. Something that happened just this past Saturday. I was doing a Barnes and Noble reading. Talk about additional weirdos showing up for signings. There was this very old, very cranky couple. They shuffled into the store with scowls on their face, like they did not want to be there. And they clearly were not there to see me because they saw me and they just kept going. And they shuffled over to this table that was filled with books. And this woman takes out a list, and she's looking through the list and looking at the books on the table. And she says, Judy, this is Judy's list. Judy said we should read these books. God damn it, they don't have all the books on Judy's list. I'm going to go to the goddamn information desk. And so I said, because they were like 10 feet away from me, and I said, you know what book Judy would have loved that would have been on the list is Madcap Serenade. And the woman, I'm missing a beat, just looks at me and goes, Judy's got her head up her ass. And walks away. Wow. And
I love stuff like that. I live for stuff like that.
I'm standing there. Wait, it gets better.
Oh.
I'm standing there, and I said to the guy who's standing behind, I said, I have no response to that. Guy looks at me, straight face, and goes, Judy's dead. And he walks away. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course she is. Not many people survive having their head up their ass. So, and immediately I was like, this is not going to be a sale. I'm not making a sale. But yeah, they won the prize that day.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I would have laughed right in their face. I can't hold back on stuff like that.
People are just endlessly fascinated. There was so much to unpack there. I just wanted to follow them around all day.
Yeah, absolutely
what the
right.
rest of their lives are like. You know.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Bizarre.
I don't know what made me think of it, but the other night, Monday night, I went to see ELO at the Garden. And I forget. Oh, it was in between. They had an opener, and then we're waiting for ELO. So, everybody's getting up to go to the bathroom and all that stuff. So I had to get up because the guy was coming through down the aisle. So I put my hand back here so I can, stand up. And then I look back. I realized I didn't put my hand on the back of the seat. It's on the guy behind me. It's on his knee. But I didn't realize until after I used his knee to prop myself up. So I look at him. He's just kind of giving me this look. And I go, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask you out now. And he just kind of gave me a weird smile. His wife was laughing. But
I have a similar story.
I'm sorry.
My wife will be upset that I tell this story.
Uh-oh.
But it feels, and I wasn't planning on telling it, but it's
right. It's free for all.
It flows very easily from the story you just told. When my wife's daughter graduated high school, we all went out to dinner. It was my wife, my stepdaughter, and my wife's parents, my in-laws, who I didn't know all that well at the time.
Oh, okay.
We hadn't met that many times, but we went out to this very fancy Italian restaurant, and my wife, was saying it's my treat, and she didn't want her parents to pay for anything.
Sure.
And it was this lovely meal. The check came, and she gets into a tug of war with the check with her dad, right? And so she's holding the check with one hand, and then she reaches around to open up her purse with the other, and she hears, she turned around, and it was the waiter's zipper. And very calmly, she said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were my purse."
I'd be done for the night.
Yeah.
I would just be laughing all night long.
And as we got out of there very quickly,
yeah,
an entire line of waitstaff just created like this, like two lines at the end, at the exit, and they were just.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And the waiter's like, "Come back soon."
Yes. Yes. So yes, that story is still legendary in that restaurant.
Oh yeah, she'll never live that down.
Yes. Sorry, honey.
That's great. All right, so.
How do you segue that?
Yeah, I'm not even sure. So the book revolves around Jane and Emil. Was that
Eli?
Eli, sorry. So, and of course, so the last time you were here, and when you were with Matt Nappo the other day, you told the story about Jane, the inspiration for Jane. You know what? I have questions about that. But if you wouldn't mind, sharing that again for anybody that may have missed it.
Yeah, of course. So Madcap Serenade is fiction, and it's all invention, but it's based on a true story that kind of was the inspiration for it. So when I was growing up on Long Island in Hicksville, I was in a professional boys choir. The chorus teacher in the junior high, Mr. Barker, was the founder and director of the Singing Boys of Long Island. And kids would come from all over Long Island we rehearsed twice a week year round. We would do concerts year round.
Yeah.
Our biggest concert season was during the holidays. We sang at the lighting of the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center, sang backup for Pavarotti at Carnegie Hall. It was a big deal choir.
Yeah.
And every choir member was required to have like over 100 songs memorized because Barker never liked to have the same program twice. So we'd be there, and he's like, now we're going to sing this song. And we just had to be ready to sing it in perfect harmony.
Oh, wow.
And every choir boy had to have their own unique solo ready to go because there was always one solo at every program as well.
He didn't pick who's singing the solo until you're actually in the middle of the performance?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like right on the spot.
Yeah.
So we just had to be ready. And this is like asking a lot. There was 8-year-olds to 18-year-olds.
My goodness.
So it was like asking a lot of them. So, but it was a lot of fun. And in the summer of '79, we were asked to sing at all the major cathedrals in Italy for a 3-week summer tour. And it was like a subset of the whole choir and we went over there. And so we sang in Milan and Florence, Venice, Capri, Sorrento, and it ended in a week in Rome. And that week ended with us singing Sunday Mass at the Vatican. And in the middle of that concert, he points to me with his baton like I had the solo that day. And it was interesting to me because even though it was a non-denominational choir, I was the only Jew in the choir. We didn't sing at a lot of temples, but we sang at a lot of cathedrals and churches. I mean, and that was all fine. So I go up to the podium, and the Pope is sitting there, like maybe as far away from me as you are, and half the world's cardinals and 80,000 people. And he raises his baton to indicate to me and the accompanist that song is going to start, and the Pope and a couple of the cardinals leaned in a little bit, and I got closer to the microphone and said, you don't need to lean in, because I was a smartass. And I'm trying to manage expectations also. And the Pope laughed. And, as a comedian, you can appreciate it's a tough room, right?
Yes.
So to get a laugh from the Pope was a big deal. So then the following Wednesday, we returned to the Vatican with like 100,000 other people to listen to the Pope's weekly address from the balcony.
Right.
We're out in St. Peter's Square, and we got there early, so we're standing next to a barricade that they created, 2 lines of barricades, so that because the Pope would do a tour through, like in his Pope-mobile, through the crowd after he did a speech. It was before his assassination attempt, so he didn't have like the Pop-O-Matic plastic dome on the Pope-mobile. And so we're sitting there, we're waiting, and it's very loud, very hot, and Barker says to the choir, gather up a little closer, and just for the benefit of the people around us, he raised his baton. He said, any requests? And someone in the crowd yelled, "Free Bird!" And that may or may not have been me. Ultimately, he regretted, I think, having me on tour. And so to avoid his gaze, I turned around and looked at the crowd at the other side of the other barricade. And I saw this very tall, pretty girl about my age, and I was immediately smitten. And so I wanted to find out more about her. I wanted to find out where she was from, what she was doing here, most importantly, where she was going to be afterwards, so maybe we can get together.
Yeah.
But it's way too loud so we're just doing hand signals and waving, And she looked over at me and she smiled, and I looked to make sure that it was me that she's smiling at. And so as I'm waving and trying to get more attention, I think I made out her name was Jane, but I couldn't be exactly sure. And as I'm smiling, someone grabs my hand and pulls me along the barricades away, and I look up and it's the Pope. The Pope is pulling me away because he looks down and he recognizes me, I think, as the kid who made him laugh past Sunday.
Right.
And this should have been a core memory. This should have been like a really awe-inspiring, delightful moment. But A, I'm 13 and I'm interested in the girl, and B, I'm Jewish. So mostly I'm just trying to shake him loose, just trying to unfetter myself from this guy who, in my mind, I thought was dressed like Elton John. And I disencumber myself from the Pope, and he, travels off Popewards somewhere. And I looked back, and Jane was gone, which was heartbreaking. And all the choir boys ran up to me and said, "Sure, the Jew gets to sing a solo for the Pope and shake his hand."
Surprised you didn't get in trouble for like I'm picturing you being dragged down this road, like he's he picked out the one Jewish person and he's like dragging them there's something racist about that.
Are you calling the Pope anti-Semitic?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. All right, you can take down my website address now.
Well, that Pope he's not alive anymore, so
That's
nobody
true.
cares.
Yeah.
And then like Matt Napo said, the Pope cock-blocked you.
He did.
Yes.
He absolutely did.
So, all right, so here's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because, I'm familiar with that story. I remember the name was Jane. So I've come up with some pictures of some possible Janes.
Okay.
All right. Now, I don't even know if you can see the screen, but again, it's like a 30-second delay, so we could always wait if you want. But can you see that or no? That's Jane Lynch.
Yes.
So do you think it could have been Jane Lynch?
Absolutely, it could have been.
It could have been.
Sure.
Jane Leaves from Frasier
yes.
fame.
Okay,
Yeah.
it could have been her.
Yeah. Jane Russell, who's dead, but
at the time was not.
Exactly.
So absolutely could.
And I don't know if she was in black and white like this picture, but I would think that you'd remember then. That would spark a memory, I would think.
That she was black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would.
All right.
That would have been memorable.
This is British actress Jane Asher.
Okay.
Probably most famous for dating Paul McCartney when he was a Beatle.
Okay.
This next one is my personal favorite, Jane Krakowski. Especially if she looked like that at the time. None of these are kind of jogging.
It has to be one of them. There's like only 5 Janes in the world.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think you are a true detective.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, there's more?
There's more.
You've discovered more Janes?
Oh, wait till you see what I've come up with, my friend.
Please.
Well, the obvious, Jane Fonda.
Oh, yes, sure.
But now, this last one, they're called the Jane Quartet. So there's 4 of them there.
There's 4 of them?
You could have 4 Janes.
I could become Mormon.
Or a pimp. So that I'm pulling for you that it's these 4, because then you can, have all 4. But that's what I'm hoping for you.
There's also Jane Jetson.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think of Jane Jetson.
And she would have been memorable
for being animated,
for being 2-dimensional. But
so the 4 Janes right there for you.
Wow.
So yeah. And they actually have a song. So where'd you go, Dan?
so that can't be a coincidence.
And the name of the album is "The Pope Dragged My Man."
Well, it has to be one of them.
Of course,
it has to be.
It just has to be.
I'm rooting for Jane 3. Yeah,
Jane 3.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, I thought because that's black and white Jane. So.
Okay.
Hand signals. Are you sure he wasn't deaf? Oh, she wasn't deaf. Oh, because you're waving to. Is that? I don't know what friend is talking about.
Yeah, if it was deaf, it might have been Matt Napo.
Exactly. So yeah, all right. So that's. I was very proud of myself. I found all those Janes for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are you sure you don't want to start a detective agency?
I missed my calling, huh?
Finding lost loves.
You never know. All right. Now, also, in line with that story, singing in this established, distinguished choir, I'm surprised that singing did not stay with you.
It did not.
Yeah, well, and you were, and I remember, in school you sang in the musicals and the talent shows and all that stuff. What was it like a conscious decision to stop, or you just never did anything that required singing and you just fell out of it? Like how did that stop?
I don't remember ever it being a conscious decision.
Like you never said, "All right, I'm not singing anymore." It just never.
I think
came
I
about.
peaked with the Pope. I sang with the Pope. I don't
Peaked with the Pope.
Yes.
That sounds like an '80s sitcom.
Peaking with the Pope. That sounds like a different sitcom. Oh my god! Yeah, so I don't know how you top that. It's like you play the garden and then where
True.
you go from there.
Well, one way you could top that. He's got a guitar right there.
Oh boy!
I think you should get that guitar and we should have Dan sing something.
What do you want to say?
No.
Oh, Jeff Posey says, "What about Jane's addiction?" That's right. I could have. And then you could be.
That could be about me.
Maybe they were fighting over you.
That could be.
Right. The video.
There's really no other explanation.
It totally makes sense to me now, and now I understand it. Frank and I are going to fight soon because we, over you. I don't know what I'm talking about. Come on, there's got to be something. This is monumental. We get Dan Kopcow to sing publicly for the first time in probably 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah. That is something that could happen.
When was the last time you sang? Was it funny thing happened on the way to the forum? Was that
It might have been.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I have really sung publicly or privately.
He's going to grab something from forum. I can feel it. That doesn't help me. I have no idea what you're doing.
That's all I got.
That was very nice. I didn't remember the words, but that was very nice to listen to. Would you remember words from any of the musicals you did in high school? I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, me
if you
neither.
ask me right now to, I don't think so.
We should just call up a video and play that.
Did we do that last? Didn't we do that last time?
We
or no?
played a little bit of one of his talking intros. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Come on, there must be something.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Do you want to play something?
I can't sing. My throat's.
I've been saying that for years. What do you mean? Your throat's still bugging you?
Yeah.
I had to spray this down last week after you.
Sorry. This one I had tune. Just fixing it.
I don't know words to many songs.
Make them up.
Make them up.
So read something out of the book to the tune of.
Yeah,
read something out of the book to the tune of Stairway. To the tune of Freebird. Wow. Right, Forum was the last thing you did in high school, right? You were senior?
Senior year.
That's you're 83, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
83.
Yeah, I don't know. Just never really had an opportunity or really never gave it much thought.
You never. Was there a time between working with the choir and all that? Like, did you ever think that could be your path? No, you never.
No.
Oh, really?
Never. No, I never thought I was, good.
Well, there must have been.
Well, I mean, I was
this
good
guy
enough I was good enough to be in a choir.
Yeah, he must have thought there was something there.
I mean, he always took his chances because he would bring you in as a soprano and an alto pre-puberty, and then crossed his fingers. Now you didn't sound like this,
right.
Afterwards. Because I don't think he ever kicked anybody out, but he'd be like, yeah, maybe you don't get a solo.
What did you sing for the Pope?
It was I remember the sheet music. It was only like 3 or 4 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
Only.
It was it was called something like
Hava Nikila.
Yeah, exactly. It was for the Pope and the Cardinals. It was probably It's Raining Men.
Well, that's one joke Fremda had in there. Is when the choir sings, the Pope prefers the key of A minor.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember what I sang. Yeah.
Didn't you? Well, first off, I am going to say, I don't know whether whether you were good or not. That's what That's what you were saying. But as far as, and I'll be honest. I haven't watched for him in years, like the video or anything. I couldn't tell you last time I watched it, but I do remember how well performance-wise, like you had a good presence up there, and you were fun to watch. He played the lead, and a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, which I saw on Broadway with Nathan Lane playing.
Me too.
Oh, loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's a really fun part because you get to break the fourth wall.
Yes.
It doesn't have to. You can make it anything you want to make it because it's not based in reality.
True.
Like that particular character.
Right.
I think at one point your character breaks the fourth wall too, but everyone else is very much like in the reality of the show, and that one character is like can do anything, and reference anything, and so it's a fun part that way.
I thought you knocked that out of the park, and I've told you that before too. I thought you were very good in that.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed your. I know you kind of. You didn't really enjoy acting that much, but
I just had a hard time remembering.
Well,
you were really good.
And it was
like a big part.
Yeah, it is a fun part.
Yeah,
and you'll never see that show in a high school again.
No.
I mean, basically the show is about hookers. That really is what it comes down to.
I always say it was kind of like Three's Company if it was in Rome.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of a vibe.
Kind of, yeah.
Misunderstandings. And
right, a lot of people intersecting. A lot of the plot lines.
It's a great farce.
Yeah, I love it. So
you had a couple of Groucho Marx moments in it too.
Yes, I threw that in there.
Yeah, I remember that too. For a high school production, I did think it was very well done. The casting was very well done, and even the sets. Mr. Quinlan, I thought did an amazing job, and he was still there when I came through the high school, and I thought that guy was a genius.
Yeah,
gym teacher during the day, but
he was amazing.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
the nicest man.
Yeah.
But so I do remember how well. I do remember a lot of talented people back then.
Yeah.
But do you also, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you also like talent shows and stuff? Didn't you sing in the talent shows and stuff?
Yeah, I think I did. That was after my voice changed. Yeah, I think I did sing at I think in the junior and senior year. I think I was singing in the talent shows.
I don't know why I remember that. I couldn't tell you what you sang, but I do remember.
I remember one of them was a very earnest Barry Manilow song, which I will not be singing now.
Totally sure I was going with this. That's exactly where I was going.
I know.
Wait for you to say the title and then say hit it.
Yeah, right.
I
remember all my life.
Which one was that?
Mandy.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I won't be singing today, but thank you for playing our game.
Yeah.
And, that's right. You said you're not singing anything today. Right.
If I wanted to do that, I'd be you instead of an author.
So in the talking about Hicksville, just bring and I don't know. I mentioned Mr. Quinlan. I don't know if there's other things we wanted to get into with with Hicksville and teachers and stuff, but particularly with the drama club. But does Hicksville really play a role, or could it have been any town in the book?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
I mean, I know obviously why you picked Hicksville, but just curious pertaining to the book.
No, I mean, Hicksville. That's hard to say because the character and the situation is so built into Hicksville, where it's a really interesting mix of mostly blue collar, some white collar, a very central, easy place to get into the city.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and a lot of public transportation, and but could it have been in a town nearby? Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
But I certainly Hicksville just from my memories and the nostalgia of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like he's not walking into Sears in the book or anything like that.
He's walking past Sears.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. See that? That's just it's magic.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. No, there's some landmarks in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're reading it and you were around in late 70s, early 80s, it's like, oh yeah, I can absolutely picture where this is happening.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Trying to think what other landmarks were in Hicksville in 1979.
That's it. It was just fields and Sears. That's all it was.
Yeah. Where now there's like 5 McDonald's and 8 7-Elevens.
Yeah, right.
Have you have you driven through? Yeah,
I have. Yeah,
looks nothing like.
No, there's very little that's familiar.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of activity in the mall as kids would be hanging out there in the mall at the time. So there's a lot of that happening and a lot of stuff in the school and all that. Yeah.
The school outside looks the same. I haven't been in years, but the outside looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
The inside. So I was there. In fact, who was I talking? I just told the story. Maybe it was yesterday. I was in the school 2 years ago, and it's not all that different inside. It's funny. Back behind the auditorium, where the choruses and the bands were, that's been changed around a little bit. But in fact, that's why I was there. They redid the auditorium. They put a lot of money. It was total state of the art. Like all the latest technology and everything was in there.
Wow.
It was very impressive, actually. Weird to be in the auditorium, because for the three of us, really, I mean, we have so much connection to that stage.
Right.
So that was, and then the reason I was there because they were naming That's right. Yeah, they were naming the auditorium after Mr. Arnold.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because it's almost like watching like your favorite athlete from when you were a kid or your favorite movie star, like to see Mr. Arnold again.
Yeah,
that was very special.
I saw that on YouTube. I saw the whole thing that was filmed. Yeah, it was a wonderful event.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, I got to open for Billy.
Yes. Yeah. How often do you get to say that?
Exactly.
That was very cool.
They saved the best for last. Me and then Billy.
Yeah, that was very great.
Yes, Fremder, the Walker brothers did apparently get dressed together today. Yeah, I first thing I thought of when you walked in, I was like, oh.
Here we go.
Yeah. Do you do that on purpose?
No.
Oh.
I just feel left out, man.
Yeah, you get the memo.
Yeah. Next time we'll tell you.
Thank you.
When Frank and I wake up together, we'll tell you what we're wearing. Jesus. I didn't mean it that way, you weirdo.
I didn't say
brothers can sleep in the. Never mind. So, Hicksville's definitely different, and yeah, it was cool being in. I'm not a nostalgic guy, but something like Facebook or going into your old high school, you can't help but the memories come flooding. So it was definitely strange, and that actually ties into, like, and you even said it before. Time has kind of gone fast. Like, do you think about that? How or does it feel that way for you?
Absolutely.
I mean, prior to you coming in last month, I think the last time I saw you was like 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
One of those Crossroads events.
Yeah.
Before that, probably 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
I think you came. So you graduated in '83. I think. What was the show the next year? Mac and Mabel. I think you came back to watch. Yeah, I think that was the last time.
I think I was working the lights for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I came back. I'm like, hey, I'm just here. And they're like, yeah, work the lights.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Walter was gone too, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, all the lighting people were insufficient. I'm joking. I don't even remember who it was. But it is. I'm always amazed at how fast time goes. Like I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
And then you start to think about, we were, we had dark hair or we had hair. We had all our limbs, and we were, and just our whole life is in front of us, and like that.
Yeah.
And then I saw, and this is something I've talked about before. I saw that you recently went to see Judy Collins
at Tanglewood. Yeah.
At Tanglewood, but it's a long concert. And first thing I go to long concerts all the time. They're free and they're fun and I have a great time. But I can still remember being 18 years old, making fun of all the old people, going to see these washed up, people. Or so I thought. At the time. I remember once at Hicksville, I think we were driving past. We were on Newbridge Road, passing the back of the school. And Frank Gorshin was performing, and I remember we were joking, like, oh, Frank Gorshin, he's finished. Look at him. He's playing Hicksville High School. Where now, I go to more lawn concerts than a real concert, and I love it. But it does make me feel a little bit old. Like, do you think about that at all or no? Am I the only one?
No, I do. I mean, I'm very nostalgic that way. And then there are times when, in my mind, I don't recognize how old I've gotten.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
I don't feel old.
I don't feel it all, especially mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there are times when like you just get like this gut punch. So I think I mentioned earlier, I started a TikTok account because
right.
This woman was talking about my book and saying very positive things, and it got 1.5 million views. And then I'm reading the comments from all of these, TikTokers. And they're like, I think it's so cute when old people write. Like that kind of thing. And I was like, I think I'm done here. I think we're all set. Yeah. And
Unbelievable.
And then it was like just a gut punch. It was like, oh. I mean, probably something that I would have said when I was a little smartass.
Absolutely.
14-year-old too.
Yep.
But still, it was just very funny.
I can't even fathom that. We're talking 40.
Yeah.
You graduated high school 41 years ago. That's insane.
Well, now I'm feeling old. Thanks. Thanks for bringing down the room, man.
I brought a nurse to carry you out of here when it's time to go. It's crazy to me. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know.
And I
know.
like I said, mentally especially. I obviously, as you guys can see, I'm still the same idiot that I was as a kid. And then I look in the mirror and see a white beard. I'm like, what the? Where?
Yeah.
How? How did this happen?
Who is this person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my son is the age I was when I got married for the first time.
Wow.
And I can't, if he came in right now and said he's getting married, no, you're not. There's no way you're ready for marriage, But meanwhile, he's the same age I was when you got married young the first time too,
I did.
right?
Yeah.
How young?
I was 20 when I got married.
Wow.
Yeah, my kids are 38 and 34.
38 and 34.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit.
Yeah, my son will be 34 this Monday. Yeah,
Oh, very nice. Happy
coming
birthday to
Monday.
him.
Thank you. Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I can't. Where did you find that?
I had it in my Facebook.
All right, let me see if.
See if you can show that.
Yeah, I'll try. All right. Well, all right. So.
From the school paper from when we did the show.
Nice.
All right. So that one is Dan. In the middle there is Andy Slokenbergs, who never. I've reached out to him on Facebook several times, and he ignores me.
Oh, he hates you.
Yeah, I know. And there's Frank in the long gown.
This picture could have been taken last week because we look identical.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And you could still do this number.
That's right. Just get us a top hat and watch.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then not to bring the mood down, but then you think about all the people that have died from school.
Let's talk about that. Oh, you know what? And let's talk about cancer. Could we?
I could.
Okay. And war. How about pestilence? We haven't really touched on pestilence yet.
Well, I saved the best for last.
I'm sorry. Knockem dead comedy. Let's not focus on the dead part of it.
Man.
I can't tell you.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of
wow.
Like stupid people, oh, wow. I get people sometimes get mad, will come to my shows and get mad that it's not a real, serious murder mystery. And I'll say to them, what part of Knockem Dead comedy did you miss?
Yeah.
And he's dead.
He's gone. Yeah.
So there they are. So on each end, you got Frank on one end and Dan on the other end.
I always thought that photo, looking at it now, not at the time, looks like the cell phone bars on your phone. Like
yes,
when you have a strong signal.
I'm the weak single. I'm the weak one.
That's pretty funny. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
You should sell this to Verizon, this photo.
Right. Like I said earlier, when I go, when Facebook came along and stuff, or when I go to Hicksville High School, a lot of memories just automatically flood back. So I'm looking at this, and already stuff is flooding back.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong with this picture.
Okay.
Okay? Now, Dan, Andy, and Tim, I have the names right? Yes. They were dancing all over the place.
Right.
And then you just kind of stood there on the end like this because you couldn't get the dance number
couldn't get
down.
the number going.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Yep. I do remember that.
They said, okay, just stand there and just bop, and they'll do all the work.
Right.
It's like we were the Pips and he was Gladys Knight.
Just like that.
Oh, my God. Yep.
That was the encore. You did Midnight Train to Georgia.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Wow. And now, where'd you find that? How do you have these pictures on your phone?
They're on my Facebook.
Jeez.
I put in my name and Dan's name, and
oh wow.
Yeah, if you put in
Yeah,
Dan's
I
name
follow
and
you.
that, and
Yeah.
then you get to see stuff in between.
Wow. Did you keep in touch with a lot of people after high school? I didn't.
I didn't. But I was like, married with kids and job and moved away and there was no internet at the time. So I think once like Facebook came about, I like reconnected with so many people.
Oh, all right. That's where I was going. So that's, I guess, I mean, I'm sure you still have a connection or, an appreciation for Hicksville as the place you grew up in, but.
And there's still people that owe me money.
There you go. With points.
Payback in buying the book.
Yeah, right. So I guess because before Facebook, I was in touch with hardly anybody, and I didn't even really think about that stuff much,
right?
Until Facebook, and now I have like this weird pride with Hicksville, which I don't know, and I just moved back there 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago.
Wow, okay.
And at first I'm like gone for over 20, and I was feeling weird about it, but and I'm still a little weird about it at times, but it's nice. I'll go places like, I haven't seen that person in 20 years. Or I'll bump into an old classmate. He's like, oh, you're still around? I haven't seen you. How does that happen? Yeah. Or going to places like the Sweet Shop. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, mostly I just remember that it was like such a, especially in the era where we were growing up, it was such a fantastic place to grow up.
Yep, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if kids now are saying that about Hicksville. I mean, maybe, but I mean, I know for us it was such a great time.
I've asked kids, like when my son was still going through school, because, I mean, I don't know if we talked about this last time or not. Maybe we talked about it at lunch after, but it was so different back then.
Yeah.
And I remember particularly with Forum, that was my first, school show. And this would never happen today, but we were there till like 10 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight.
Yeah.
We'd all be laying on the floor doing our homework in between scenes we were in. Yeah. Like, that would not fly today. Like, it's not even a consideration today. It's so different. But yeah, sure.
The image that I just got was not only were we there super late, because I was a senior, I was lucky enough that I had a car. I had a used beat up car.
You drove us home.
Yeah,
most
so
of the time.
I would drive you guys and other people home, and I remember there was more than one time when there was like 6 people who needed a ride home, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll get." And they're like, "Well, we all won't fit in the car." I'm like, "Just get on the roof."
Yes.
And like,
yes.
So like someone would just get on the roof and just
Usually
hold
me.
on tight, and like I would like stop and get gas, and the person on the roof would hop off, fill it up, and hop back on, and the attendant was like, "Yep, no, that just happened."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then I was
Yeah.
just like, it's like we were just fearless.
Driving down Old Country Road.
Yeah.
And like you said, nobody would even... Like, nobody was doing that. It was like, just another car with a kid on top.
Yep, and one in the trunk with the trunk popped open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a senior in high school, the teacher that was doing the drama club, that was a bad choice of words. The teacher that was leading the drama club, who I absolutely loved, Mrs. Pasaltina, she put this thing together. In fact, I mentioned it in my speech with Mr. Arnold. I don't know why she did it, but we had to go to each elementary school in Hicksville, and we would perform the musical numbers from the musical we were doing. And so what she did, she had one of the small buses, and it wasn't the whole drama club. It was just the main, the lead characters, the lead performers. So it was maybe 10 of us, all together. And Mr. Arnold would be driving the bus. And we were on Old Country Road right near our mom's house. I'll never forget it. And we all planned, let's do a Chinese fire drill. So I'll never forget it. So we're at a red light. We all look at each other. So we all jump up. Dawn Tranka pushes the back door of the bus open. She jumps out. Just as the light turns green, Mr. Arnold had no idea, and he starts driving away.
Oh.
So I just remember looking back, seeing the doors open, and there's Dawn in the middle of Old Country Road. And now we're all
This plan has gone horribly wrong.
Oh, yeah. And we all, stop. And, Miss Pasadena was great. And I've kept in touch with her. I love this woman. I would not be performing. I wouldn't be in here if it wasn't for her.
Wow.
I always credit her with it, but you didn't want to cross her. And that was one of those days. I mean, she let us have it, man. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget just seeing Dawn Trank in the middle of the road.
Look at you standing, not
But
falling.
yeah, true. but where I was going with all this, like staying so late and all, I think that, and I've asked kids today, and they'll disagree with me, but I personally feel that we had better relationships with our teachers back then. A lot of them were like mentors, and like Mr. Arnold, Artie Horowitz, who I went to Met games with Artie Horowitz. I went to Met games with science teacher Metzendorf.
Oh yeah,
I went to Met games with these guys, and and they would all, sometimes if you're walking home in the rain, a teacher would pull over and come on in. Where now I would think they're scared to do that because next thing you know they're going to be accused of doing something they weren't supposed to do. Right. But my son and his friends say, no, we love this teacher, we love that teacher, and I can stay after school and ask him a question. So I was happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But I personally think they're just not getting what I'm trying to tell them. Like, no, you can't go to a Met game today with them. And I'm guilty of it too. If my son came home and said, Mr. So-and-so wants to take me to a Met game, I'd be, well, why does he want to take you to a Met game? But back then it was the norm. And
that's true.
And I'm happy to say that none of these teachers that I've mentioned, or no teacher that I ever spent after school time with, ever made any kind of, they didn't. None of them did anything wrong. Right. That was the priest. What was it? Father Peter.
Oh,
Father Peter tried to get me when I was 14. But at school, nothing like that. And I've heard other people say, tell me stories. Oh, Mr. So-and-so did this, and Mr. So-and-so did that. And then, of course, like I said, we have in common a teacher that unfortunately, did some things. But
show me in the book where Hicksville hurt you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So, but it's just another example to me of just how time flies, how just things are so different.
That's true.
Our mother used to complain, "What are you guys doing home so late? Why you?" But she didn't say it. Like, she didn't call the school. Like, she accepted it. Right. But yeah, today it wouldn't even fly. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if it's better or worse. To be honest with you, I'm just saying it's different. But
yeah, it is. And I think kids back when we were younger, we had a whole different set of like problem solving skills because we didn't have. I was talking about it for like my characters in my book. Like you don't have technology assisting you. Right. Adults aren't swooping in and checking up on you every single day. They don't have lawyers on speed dial. Right. And so that kids were able to kind of explore their world kind of unassisted.
Right.
And no one was really checking up on them. I mean, probably if you were in your own neighborhood, the neighbors would check and make sure that you were okay. But if you went outside your neighborhood where no one knew you, you were just off on your own. Where now, there's like SWAT teams.
So, do you agree, like, when your kids, so I know you've moved around a bit, so where did your kids grow up?
In New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was living outside of Princeton in Lawrenceville.
Okay.
So that's where my kids grew up.
And would you say it was, different?
A little bit different, not too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same kind of feel as Hicksville. It was very suburban, a lot of houses, a lot of, kind of close families.
Nice.
So, yeah, no, they had a...
That's a great area, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm a little familiar with it, yeah.
It's better than Syracuse, you're saying. Yeah.
Hempstead is better than Syracuse. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, really, but I'm a tiny bit familiar with that area, and yeah, that's a great area.
Yeah.
I do personally feel it was better.
Yeah.
But again, I don't. It's not like our kids have it to compare to, so they don't know any different. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know what you know, and you think that's the normal, and that's
exactly right.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Okay, so speaking of places you've moved around, you lived in Philly too for a while, right?
Right outside of Philly. Yep.
But you're not a Phillies fan.
You sports ball?
It's sports
you're
ball.
talking about. I don't follow sports.
You just follow any sports.
It's all sports ball to me.
Oh, okay. I know when you said sports ball, I was like
sports ball. Yeah. No, I have a T-shirt that I wear during whatever sports ball is on that just says, "I just hope both teams have fun."
Oh, okay. All right, that works. All right, good.
Yeah.
Because
I hope they get the point and do the thing.
Well said. Well said.
I love that.
I know the lingo.
All right, good. You saved yourself then, because that's as long as you're not wearing a Phillies shirt right now. That's
I did
that's
go.
where I was going.
I went years ago. I went to a Mets game with my friend, and it was in the regular season, but it was the game after the Mets were statistically out.
Oh, eliminated, right?
Eliminated,
which is almost
right.
every year for them.
Yeah, so there was still whatever, like 5 or 6 games left, but it didn't matter if they won them all. They weren't going to make the playoffs. And I was being told all this by my friend as we were approaching the stadium. I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. So we're online to go in, and the guy in front of us is, face painted. He's like the full Mets fan.
Yeah.
And he turned around and he specifically zeroed in on me and said, "You are the true Mets fan, because only real Mets fans are here today to support the team when it doesn't really matter. We love you, man. We need people like you." And I'm like, how did you totally get me? I feel seen.
you said, I love when that guy swung that stick and got the point.
That's right. Get the goal. Also, I like the costumes. And when's intermission? Yeah.
When they scored that goal, that was fantastic.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, so we have about 5 minutes.
You should read.
Oh yes.
No,
Thank
look,
you.
If you have something else you want.
All right. Well, no, we'll definitely fit that in. You're working on your next one, The People from Away, a quirky family drama about music, road trips, and trauma.
Yes.
So I guess that's why you were doing some research, and that's why you were.
Yeah, my main character is a singer-songwriter. And I've talked to a few singer-songwriters, and just to get some information, and I wanted to talk to the legend here to get some more information while I'm on the second draft of that one.
Okay.
And it's not obviously it's not where I want it to be yet, so I want to get some more information and help round it out.
So, and then it's, this is my own question. I thought I was quoting somebody. So, Madcap Serenade, based in Hicksville, so it's loosely based on real experiences.
Yeah.
That can't be the case for all the books, right?
No, it's not. Worst Date Ever, which is the short story collection of romantic dates that go horribly wrong. The introduction is based on a real story between my wife and I. The rest are all fiction and invention. And really the same with all the stories.
Right.
The prologue for Madcap Serenade is my story about going to sing for the Pope and getting pulled away while I saw Jane. But everything else is just invention. Yeah.
Okay. So that would be the case with this next one too, The People from Away.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I just had this notion in my head. I heard an NPR story about this interesting mental disease, and I thought that would make a really funny story.
Oh, okay.
In the gentlest way. I mean, I sound like a monster.
And that's why he won't talk to me.
That is. When I thought mental disease, I was like, I gotta give Frank a call.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
What is?
That person is not the singer-songwriter. That's another character. Just
okay.
To ensure that we're still getting together.
Let's see. I was just looking at the comments real quick. After high school, I mostly stayed in touch with myself. Hicksville was very flat. Back in the day, if your dog ran away, you could watch it for days. Okay. Let's see. Father, first name Peter, last name File. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, yeah, he got in a lot of trouble, that man. Now he's dead. Wonderful memories growing up in Hicksville, says Carol. Very nice. From a month after I was in Philly, she told me she was oh, okay, never mind. What is your worst date ever, damn Kopcow?
Well, my wife confusing a waiter for a purse is up there.
That's a great freaking story. Do you have a worst date ever story?
No.
No. You're really, because I think you may be the first person that I've ever met who doesn't have one. I've talked to people who are 80, and I talked to this girl who was 8, and she was like, "Have I got a story for you?"
8.
Ocho. Yes.
Ocho.
8 who went on a date.
Yes.
That's...
Well, she had a crush on this boy in class, and You know, I don't know.
Wow.
He made her eat paste. I don't know what happened, but she had a worst date ever story.
Made her eat paste.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Yeah, screw it. I'll tell you mine.
Oh, yes, please.
I was debating whether I should say it or not, but it's kind of gross. She got drunk. We were leaving the restaurant, and the restaurant had actually closed. That's how late we stayed, and we were leaving. And she needed to poop, and decided to poop in the parking lot. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then, sure enough, I swear to you, this is true. And how I didn't see it, I don't know. But as she's pooping, boom! Here come the lights. A cop was sitting right there. I'm just glad it wasn't me. But yeah,
Was there a second date?
Surprisingly, because I laughed so hard at the first. But yes, there was. Yes, there was.
Did we ask what happened then?
Yeah, right. Can't get much worse.
This is when you take you roll out the phrase, "You are a constant delight."
Or Irish people go, "God bless you."
God bless you. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
Yes, that's it. Yes, bless your heart.
I think.
Yep. All right. So before we go, let's get a reading from Madcap Sarah. Right? Was it Madcap? Oh no, you're doing one from
I was gonna
First
do,
Date Ever. Worst date ever.
It's a long story, so I'm only going to read the second half of it. But one of the short stories in Worst Date Ever is called "The Spot on Aunt Googie's Head." Googie. So
That's a great name.
And I'll just tell you what happens in the first half of the book of the short story. So it's told from the first person. This guy is telling the story to police officers. He's in a full body cast in a hospital.
Oh.
And there's been an incident, and the police were called, and they're trying to interview this guy to find out what happened. So he's telling them his side of the story.
Okay.
And he had a big crush on this woman named Esther, who's Greek. And they went out on a first date, and it went okay. And she invited him she said, let's go out on a second date. So he's very excited. So he has gone to pick her up, met the parents who hate him because he's not Greek. And they're off to a family funeral, which is where the second date is going to take place. And he is a germaphobe. He's very neurotic. And he is freaking out that he's got to go to a funeral as Esther's date for his second date. So this is where the story picks up. Next thing I knew, Esther brought me to a Greek Orthodox church on the other side of town. It was located next to a butcher shop. I thought the slaughtered pigs were the lucky ones. Esther and I entered the ornate church. I was hoping to quietly scoot into the back row of pews with Esther. Unfortunately, as soon as we arrived, I was surrounded by a sea of Greek mourners. They all kissed and pinched and hugged, and I kept searching for a Purell dispenser. With all the tears, blubbering, and sweat under the wool coats, the church was a bacteria factory. The mourners led us down the aisle, intending to seat us in one of the front pews reserved for immediate family. Esther pointed out some of her family, including her grandparents, her sister, and her uncle Constantine. There were way too many chaperones on this date. As Esther and I walked down the aisle in a move that would have pleased the old lady in the antique store, I glanced past the mourners toward the front of the church. The mourners were all facing the open casket of 83-year-old Aunt Googie. Photos taken through her life were displayed on a nearby table. Number 1. I wanted to be there for Esther and respect her desires to properly honor her Aunt Googie. Number 2. The mourners were placing their hands on my shoulders, shaking my hand, and giving me their best comfort face that said, I feel your pain. And I thought, who are you people? I'm on a date here. Number 3. Math has never been my strong subject, but I quickly deduced that I was not family. On the new Aunt Googie well industrial standard scale, Esther scored a solid 10. I barely registered a 0.1. And that's only because I could see her framed black and white photo by her coffin. That brought our collective average to a 5. An average 5 score does not entitle the bearer to a front row seat to the show. I pulled Esther into a pew in the statistical middle of the church. You can't argue with math in times like this. The service started. I tried wiping my hands and cheek with whatever napkin or soft paper I could find. I had never been to a Greek funeral, but was hoping it would be a quick one. After some prayers, Esther got up to deliver part of the eulogy. I listened to my date regale everyone with a touching story of her Aunt Googie. A tear meandered down her cheek. Number 1, it was at this point that I realized that Esther was a deeply wonderful person. Number 2, was there an app that could quickly convert me to Greek so her family would stop scowling at me? Number 3, a towelette, my kingdom for a little moist towelette. Number 4, it was at this point that I also realized I wasn't getting to first base that night. When Esther's eulogy was over, the priest and archbishop said some final words. Then everyone stood up solemnly and formed a line down the center of the aisle. Holding Esther's hand, I couldn't have been standing more than 20 yards from the open casket. Everyone shuffled Googie word one at a time as if it were Friday night at an ATM. I asked Esther what was going on, twitching slowly into stage 2.5 anxiety. Esther replied sweetly that they were all saying their personal goodbyes to Aunt Googie one at a time. I told her I would wait for her in the parking lot. She smiled and held my hand tighter, thinking I had been kidding to cheer her up. A small choir started singing a solemn ballad as we marched forward in line. What's the socially correct thing here? I asked Esther. I've never actually met Googie, so I can't really say goodbye to someone I never said hello to, can I? I mean, isn't there some rule book of etiquette we could consult here? Before she could respond, we overheard Uncle Constantine behind us talking on his cell phone via remote earpiece. Esther whispered to me that she hated that her Uncle Constantine was always on his phone. It was probably his ex-wife on the other end, she said. Yeah, I replied, but what a great time in history of mankind to be crazy. I mean, thank God for cell phones. No one bats an eye if they see you talking to yourself.
That's true.
As you can see, this went over slightly less well than if I had shown up dressed as the Grim Reaper on stilts. The surrounding congregation stared small ice picks into the back of my neck. I may not be invited back to Aunt Googie's next funeral. And really, I was just trying to distract myself because everyone, and I mean everyone, was leaning over one by one and solemnly kissing Aunt Googie on the forehead. By the looks of her photo on the table, she was getting more action now than when she was alive. How could I press the ejection button on this? My eyes darted around the church, searching frantically for a sign that depicted a priest with his hands held slightly apart that read, "You must have been this close to the deceased to enjoy this ride." It was during this part of the date that I started to question our relationship. I mean, it was only, a second date? Suddenly I didn't care how cute Esther was. I had not bargained on having to kiss a dead body. But then Esther looked at me with those big hazel eyes, and I thought, okay, I can wear the big boy underoos in this situation. I glanced over to the front of the line, which, like the Mediterranean tide at Santorini, was quickly flowing closer. We took a few steps closer to the twisted hellscape of a kissing booth. I couldn't get the sight of Aunt Googie's forehead out of my field of vision. It was like a postage stamp being licked by the whole village before being affixed and mailed. Now, I'm no germaphobe, but I started scoping the joint, looking for any cases of medical maladies. I don't play a doctor on TV, but my sincere diagnosis was that the room was filled with diseased, infectious lepers. Noticing that I was slowly turning into a post-iceberg Titanic in a suit, Esther attempted to distract me, if only to prevent any further embarrassment. She asked me if I had gotten another job since I quit the temp assignment. I told her that I was now self-employed. She stared at me nervously, clearly regretting that she had brought the subject up. Number 1, I explained that I used to have a goatee. My old girlfriend liked how it looked, but complained that it felt bristly when I kissed her. Number 2, I came up with a solution. I shaved off the goatee and developed a substitute, a goatee toupee. The go-pay. Crap, we were getting closer to the deceased. I asked Esther in a panic if we could go to the back of the line. She turned with a look of great disappointment, as if we'd camped out all night for these tickets. I told her it wasn't Beyonce up there during a meet and greet. It was Aunt Googie. Clearly, we were not on the same page. She looked ahead, hopefully, to the front of the line, as if there were scalpers with better tickets yelling, "I got 2 for Googie. Get 'em while they're hot. Googie, second row, on the aisle." No go. Only 5 people in front of us. I'm skipping a little bit ahead here.
Oh, okay.
I was talking to Uncle Constantine and concluded a story when I got near Aunt Googie's casket, extending my arms in a flourish designed to give the end of my story an exciting crescendo. Instead, I smacked the priest in the face, which caused the entire congregation to gasp in unison. The Great Priest Sucker Punch, as I'm sure it is referred to at Esther's family reunions, also resulted in the priest spilling holy water on the floor near Aunt Googie's casket. The priest waved the incidents off as an inconsequential accident, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Esther, however, looked discouraged and disappointed. The priest approached me whispering, "Please, my son, in the name of St. Augustus, this is a holy place." Esther grabbed my hand and led me to Aunt Googie. My mind was clamoring for excuses to delay the inevitable, and I suddenly felt the need to speak a few words on behalf of all those who had never known old Googie. Rushing frantically to the podium, I flipped on the microphone, the pilgrimage to Aunt Googie momentarily waylaid. Everyone stood agog, waiting to hear what the outsider had to say. Esther just shook her head. That's when my mind went blank. I couldn't think of anything to say. I put my brain on autopilot, grasping the podium tightly with both hands as if this were Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Impulsively, I started to sing Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. Uncle Constantine scowled at me, looming towards me menacingly, but Esther intervened. She pleaded with me to keep it together before I was kicked out. She didn't want to be humiliated in front of her family. I understood, but Aunt Googie loomed ever large in my future. Wait, I told her, there's a pharmacy next door. They may have alcoholic wipes made specifically for foreheads. Maybe I could, but it was too late. Like a mosh pit, the surge of the crowd pushed me forward towards Googie's ever-waiting forehead, which grew larger than those featured on Mount Rushmore. I inspected Aunt Googie, lying in the casket, having been kissed by the entire population of Astoria, Queens, as well as Athens, Sparta, and Crete. Aunt Googie was looking aggressively loved. There was this giant spot on her forehead where everyone had kissed her, where her death makeup had worn off, revealing actual Aunt Googie skin. And despite everyone watching me, there was no way I was kissing actual forehead that was in the process of googification. So I slyly covered the spot with the palm of my right hand. I would kiss the back of my hand just as I had done when I was 13 to practice making out. Then I got an even better idea. I started to discreetly backfill the bald spot on Aunt Googie's forehead with the adjacent makeup. It was like spackling drywall. I went in for a respectful kiss on the freshly paved forehead when I accidentally slipped on the puddle of holy water and kissed Aunt Googie square on the mouth. And because my slip was a complete surprise to me, this was a senior prom, last dance, last chance for romance, open mouth kiss. Aunt Googie may have been proudly Greek, but that kiss was shamefully French. The entire congregation watched with horror as I made out with Aunt Googie. The place erupted with so much activity and terror that if a rat had been present to observe the goings-on, he would have done well to take careful notes on the proper way to abandon a sinking ship. Esther started crying as the priest quickly ushered everyone out of the church. The archbishop seized Aunt Googie's casket and wheeled it away from me as if he were a caterer who had served bad salmon. I spied Uncle Constantine and two of his larger relatives rushing at me in a menacing fashion. I slipped out through the back of the church and raced down the alleyway. I recalled the butcher shop next to the church. It would provide safe shelter until Hurricane Constantine blew over. Cuts of meat hung in the butcher shop window in front of me. The shop, the hanging meat, would save my life. It was bovine intervention. I reached the door, but it was locked. The shop was closed. Let's just say Uncle Constantine and his goons helped me achieve a vocal range previously undisplayed by humans. At least they had the courtesy to call an ambulance afterwards. But here's the thing. As I lay in the gutter, bleeding and broken, I finally realized I had been wrong. I had gotten to first base that night.
That's great.
That was excellent. Love that. That's really great. DanKopcow.com, ladies and gentlemen. That's fantastic. Worst date ever. Right there. Very nice. So, is the book tour over, or?
It's mostly over.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a couple of, I'm still waiting to hear back on a couple of bookstores. I'm gonna probably try to do a few more, maybe in the spring again.
Oh, okay.
I may be doing the Theodore's books in Oyster Bay in November, possibly.
Right. Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been like 2 months since the book's been out, and it's mostly over.
All right. Well, let us know about the Theodore's date, and we'll push it.
Yeah.
Again, dankopcow.com. This is great stuff. Go get the books.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad you're here again, pal.
Thanks.
You got nothing, right? No. Okay. Slapping a priest.
That was cold.
Well, it's true. I didn't mean anything bad by it. He's just not playing out. Slapping a priest is also known as Palm Sunday. Oh, my goodness. Then I told you, I saw an old friend of yours the other day that was asking me if you were playing out. Howie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did tell you. Yeah.
You told me you said hi.
Yeah, and then he asked me if you were playing. I said no.
You didn't tell me that.
Who's with us next week?
Joanna Monte.
Are you sure?
As far as I know.
Has she canceled on us twice?
Yes, but this time she'll be sad.
Well, we'll see.
Will she sing with you? Because I feel bad that I didn't sing. Not that I'm going to, but
I was going to say I won't shut this off yet, but that would be historical. People from Hicks will be, he's singing again.
I mouth happy birthday.
I don't even bother singing it most of the time. I just stand there. I might yell in a cha-cha-cha, and that's it. That's probably it. All right. It is time for us to go then. Today is Thursday. What do we got? Circling the Drain tonight at 7. Tomorrow morning, Coffee with the Dog with Matt Napo. We're back here at 11 a.m. Andy will be here. And Andy, are you still watching? Andy's bringing a comedian with him tomorrow, and I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was a name I recognized. I don't know. I don't remember who it was. I'll look it up, and I'll let you guys know. So we're out of here. But, of course, don't forget Governor's Comedy Club. Let's see. Who's playing on the Governor's stage this weekend? Tom Green has been postponed. I don't know why. Tom Green was supposed to be here Saturday and Sunday, but it's been postponed, so he's not going to be here. Go to the website. I think there's information about getting money back or whatever. But there's still a lot of great comedians playing the club this weekend. Richie Byrne, Eric Tartaglione, Gibran Salim, Mike Burton, Joe DeVito, Terry McNeely, Mike Tangi, Chuck Fox, Tony Landolfi, just some of the names you'll see on our Governor's stage this weekend. Let's see, and don't forget, where is it? There it is. Next weekend, next Friday, Knockem Dead Comedy, we're performing one of our murder mysteries at the Brokerage. The very next night, Knockem Dead Comedy right here in the Giggle Room, right down the hall here, doing our trivia night with Ivory Fields. He'll be performing that night as well. October 5th, the following week, Gov's Comedy Club podcast presents The Down and Outs with Claudia and Gretchen and Nancy, and I'll be hosting that. In November, we got Clash of the Boroughs, Staten Island and Astoria, Mike Pacchetti and Friends, Johnny McDonald, Sean Kearns, Courtney Otero, Andrew Farella, and headlined by Greg Criticos. And in December, Knockem Dead Comedy performing again in Bohemia. And any of our England friends. We do have people that watch from England sometimes. Wow. So if anybody's in England in November, don't forget our pal Elio Pace. He's doing a bunch of shows, performing original material for the first time in years. So I think that's everything. Yep, that's it. So once again, dankopcow.com. Thank you, pal. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Yep. And everybody enjoy the rest of their Thursday. And we'll see.